Hello there. Thank you for joining this University of Technology Sydney Business School session. My name is John Kennedy and I am the International Manager for UTS Business School. This session is about business analytics, in which we have a master's program. It's a very exciting topic, and we're really proud of this degree. We think it's a really unique and interesting degree offering to the world. Business analytics obviously is a huge area that's growing. Obviously, there are loads of trends for people going into data science as an industry and also as degrees. But there's been a real lack in the market for students and graduates who actually know how to use data and to make business decisions with it. So yes, data is a big thing and loads of people are going into data type degrees, and that's all wonderful. But those degrees do tend to be focused more on the technical side and much more about the manipulation of data. Now, this degree in business analytics, you will learn that because it's important to know how data is used, collected, and manipulated. But you'll also learn how to use data in business decisions, how to help organizations make decisions for forward planning, for strategies. And that's the kind of missing link between data and businesses. And business analytics bridges that gap in a wonderful way. So it makes graduates incredibly employable by following this degree path. Now, before we get to the main session, which is going to be like a pre-recorded session that was done with the director of the business analytics program, Dr. David Bond, and he will talk through the business analytics course and why it's important. I'm just going to touch on a few quick points about UTS Business and UTS in general. Just take a few minutes and then we'll get to the main talk about business analytics itself. So if you haven't heard of UTS, we're a big university in the city of Sydney in the state of New South Wales in Australia. We're a young university and we're very proud of what we've achieved in our young history. In terms of rankings, which, universities do like to talk about rankings. I'm not going to concentrate on them too much, but we are the #1 young university in Australia. That's something we're very proud of. It does demonstrate that we've achieved a lot in our short time. And we've been growing increasingly in the rankings year on year, jumping 20, 30 places a year. Currently, we're 9th in Australia and 133rd globally. Another important stat on this page here is we're 100% research rated as a world leader or above, and #1 in Australia for research engagement and impact. That's really important, particularly in fields like emerging fields like business analytics, because research is integral to the kind of carving out new areas and understandings, and those research kind of fields do get filtered down into the courses and learnings themselves. So all our courses are really cutting edge and they're really modern and they really are aligned to what the research is telling us and what industry needs from our graduates as well. I just wanted to highlight one of our amazing alumni. This is Madhavi Shankar. She did a couple of programs at UTS. She did a Master of Engineering Management and an MBA in 2015. I wanted to share Madhavi's story because she just recently won the International Alumni Award here at UTS. And I think she's a good example of everything else that UTS Business School offers a student. So although she didn't do business analytics, she was exposed to the overall learning experience of UTS Business. And one of the main areas that we kind of focus on, as well as these really practical courses, is a very much entrepreneurial spirit. And Madhavi really kind of inhabits that type of culture. She's gone on to set up her own company called Space Basic, which is an online platform kind of bringing together kind of space in hostels and student accommodation in India. Just in 2020, she reached just over 1 million users of that platform, and I'm sure it's grown since then. And she'll be using data a lot in her industry as well. You can check out more about Madhavi on the link on the screen, but also if you just Google Madhavi Shankar at Space Basic or UTS, you'll find loads of information about her profile and her entrepreneurial endeavors and how UTS kind of was part of that journey for her. Shortly, you'll be hearing from Dr. David Bond, the Director of the Master of Business Analytics, And he's one of an amazing array of wonderful academics at UTS Business. Another great academic is Dr. Amanda Weiss, who's recently won an award for teaching excellence, a national award, and we're very proud of her for that. Again, there's a link on the screen, but if you type in Dr. Amanda White into Google, Google's our friend, you'll find some amazing videos. She has her own YouTube channel as well, and you'll really get a good sense of what, the culture of UTS business and the kind of teaching styles that you'll receive here at UTS as well through her video. So I do encourage you to check out her as well, just to get a sense of what UTS business is actually like as a school and as a culture. Okay, with that being said, we are going to move on to the pre-recorded session with Dr. David Bond, the director of the Master of Business Analytics course, and he'll talk to you about why business analytics is relevant today. And I've already touched on that. It's that link between data and how businesses can use it effectively. And it's becoming more important than ever. I think we all know that data really is driving everything in our world at the moment. So to have graduates that really know how to harness it and really interpret it in a way that's useful for organizations, that's what this course is all about. So with that being said, I'll hand over to the pre-recorded session with Dr. David Bond.
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing a lot about the use of data in making decisions, and really it's about using data to help inform decision making. And we've got actually a really good case study which we're all experiencing at the moment is around COVID. And if you've seen the Johns Hopkins website where they've got the dashboard with sort of how cases are moving all around the world, this use of data to be able to help governments and health organizations to businesses to understand how it's spreading, what's needed, it helps people use that information to actually provide some benefit or some insight to the organization and help the organization actually do something which benefits it. So in a government case, obviously, hopefully, make good decisions that will help the population. For a business, it could be to help, reduce costs, increase revenues. There's a whole range of things that can be done. And a large reason why this is happening is just this increase in the amount of data that we're seeing in the world around us.
And David, I think we may have just lost you a bit there, but would it be safe to say there's a bit of a shortage of people with these skills?
Yeah, look, there is. There's absolutely a need for people to be able to be conversant with data, to be able to understand, where it comes from, how to manage it, how to assess it. But where the big gap is, because there are a lot of people with quant skills out there, not enough by any stretch of the imagination, but there are people out there who can do that. But where the real gap is those who can really translate that information into something which is usable for organizations. So it's not just on the technical side of things in which there's a shortage. It's that ability to translate that information and actually put it into action, where there's a little bit of a gap at the moment.
And David, you've mentioned in the past there are sort of three core areas of business analytics. Do you want to take us through those briefly?
Yep, if you can bring us to the next slide so I can talk to what it is so they can see what I'm talking about. But to preface it while John brings that up, one of the things, and it could be partly a midlife crisis, but I, in the last few years, have gone off and got myself a motorcycle. And one of the things they teach you in Australia, and it happens in various ways around the world, is I see, they might, I will, which is actually very similar to this idea about the 3 core tasks in business analytics. So in a motorcycle, what you do is, if you're riding along, you're continually scanning what's happening around you. So you're bringing in information and data from your surroundings. And so that gives you a diagnostic of what is going on around you. The next bit is into, well, if you see a car on a side street, they might do something. They're stopped there, but they could go forward. So you're then making hopefully good judgments around what happens if they move forward. What happens, are they likely to blow the stop sign? So you're making predictions around what you're seeing that car do. And the same with business analytics is we're making predictions based on the data sets that we have and the modeling that we do to try to understand what's likely to happen in the future. Now, we don't just end there, because obviously if you see a car about to do something, you want to take some sort of course of action to take you out of harm's way. So that's the I will. So if you see a car on a side street, you may start to move across the lane a little bit just to give yourself a bit of a buffer. And so this is moving into the action stage. And in business analytics, you've looked at what has been happening. You're looking at using various models to predict what could happen. And then you're ultimately taking some sort of course of action where you can try to, put it into practice what you're doing and hopefully get a good outcome for the business or the organization itself.
Excellent. That's a pretty nice, neat summary of it. So, David, who should do this sort of program? For instance, I'm a marketer. Do you reckon would I benefit from doing these sorts of things, and would I have the background skills to be able to do this course?
Absolutely. So, I mean, John, we'd love to have you in the course, and maybe if we can twist your arm enough, we could get you in there at some point.
Very tempted.
Excellent. One of the things about this, and it's a bit of a general comment though, is data has been used in organizations from the very small to the very large, or can be used by organizations of any size, small, medium, large, profit, not-for-profit, multinational, whatever sort of industry, whatever sort of type, whether it's around marketing, whether it's about, insurance, whether about in finance, sport, tourism, whatever it happens to be, there's a need to understand what's going on. And so what I've been talking about with, friends and colleagues of mine is around the gym industry. Now, the gym industry here is shut down pretty heavily because of what's happened with COVID. So how do you, there's an understanding of people coming in. When they do come in, they tap on, so who turns up when they turn up. You've got demographics about them. Can you start to use that information to identify people who are likely to cancel a membership, which is obviously going to have an impact on your bottom line? So pretty much any industry is going to need people who have these sort of skills. In terms of specific roles that come out of it, it's quite varied, and it just depends on the industry that you're looking in. But certainly people in kind of business analyst type roles, and then moving up as you move into kind of management positions, these are all incredibly important, and especially at a management level, because you become a really good consumer of data so that you can work with, the analyst and the data scientists, and what they're talking about. So that translation element is actually a really important thing, whatever level and whatever industry that you're going in.
Yeah, that's one of the things that it's so important, is to be able to chat with those experts and actually know when they're, to be able to interpret what they're saying and even question it as well and have an informed opinion.
No, absolutely. And the example I give with this is, as I mentioned before, I've recently got a motorcycle. I know next to nothing about how the mechanics of them. So when I take it into the shop and they tell me X, Y, and Z is wrong, I just have to take it on faith that they're telling me the right thing. Obviously, if that's your career, if that's your business, you want to have a little bit more than just faith that the people telling you how they've kind of run these models, how they've understood what is happening in the business. You want to have more than just a faith in them that they're telling you the right thing. You want to understand what's going on, so you can ask the right questions, so you can ask for the right sort of evidence around it and push them on these things. So that's where we're seeing, this course become really useful, because you'll learn those quantitative skills, you'll learn those technical skills, which give you that confidence to be able to ask those questions. But then we'll also move into the business side of things. So you're sort of marrying up the technical and the business orientated part of it.
Yeah. So you mentioned these courses. Do you want to talk us through the different options that people can do in business analytics?
It would be my pleasure to do so. So we have a number of different options here. So the graduate certificate is a 24 credit point option. The grad dip is actually 48 credit points. So we've got a one session, I should say, option, a 2 session if you're doing it full time. A master's degree being 3 sessions or 72 credit points, and the master extension taking you across a full 2 years. Now, you can choose to go into the grad cert. A grad dip is an exit only. So if you're working your way through, life gets in the way, that can be an exit point for you. Or you can take what would be quite a common way is, the full 18-month master program. And we'll look at how that breaks down in a few slides time. There is a face-to-face option. So that's actually coming to class and physically sort of turning up. And there is also a new online only course, which is structured slightly differently, as we'll get to, but has a lot of the same core elements to it.
And David, do I need to sort of quit my job? If I was to do this, would I need to quit my job, or could I do this part-time and balance work and study and everything?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to, no, you absolutely don't have to quit your job. Certainly the online only version is really well set up for those who would like to continue with their work. You can do the course part-time. Even doing it, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, because of the way the timetable and when the subjects are offered, if you really had to get it done quickly and you really didn't want to sort of give up your job, you could, with a few days here and there of leave and whatnot, you would be able to get this done. So no, you don't have to quit your job to be able to do this.
Excellent. So talk to us about how the program actually works.
Yep, I certainly can do that. And if we let them see what the next little piece is, there we go. So the first session, there are three core subjects which all students do in their first session. So we're viewing this as in light of doing it full time. Obviously, if it's been done part time, then it's a slightly different organization here. So the 12 credit points that we have: Foundations of Business Analytics, Data Processing using SAS, and the first Studio, so Studio 1 Foundation. Now, what these are is very much an entree into the course. Foundations of Business Analytics is almost like a microcosm of the entire degree. It's giving you that entree into what business analytics is, a touch point on modeling, on storytelling, and how you kind of convey your messaging to the various stakeholders that you're working with. Data processing using SAS is the first of the 3 language modules. So we have, as it'll come up in a few moments' time, we also touch on Python and R as sort of standalone subjects. And this is that sort of starting point into coding. The first Studio is a first of a block of 3 in the Studio stream. So there's Studio 1, Studio 2, and Studio 3. And the idea with that is by the end of Studio 3, you're effectively working on, industry level projects, very much self-directed. You will have the academic there who will mentor you through that. But we don't expect you to get to that point straight off the bat. So Studio 1, it is more scaffolded, it is more sort of instructor-led, but obviously working in groups and allowing you to sort of develop those skills. And as you move through to the third Studio, the support is still there, but it's different. It's less organized by the academic and it's more kind of self-directed. So to the various streams, John, if you could put them up. So this is where it depends on your, I suppose, skill set or background. Because as we talked about before, this course is very much about marrying up the analytics or the IT side of things with the business side of things to create people who can sort of stand in a bit in both worlds. So if you have an IT background, you would do the business stream. If you have a business background, you would do the IT stream. And so it just gives you, a starting point in a world which you haven't necessarily spent as much time. So, if you've done a lot of stuff in business, then you would be doing the databases subject and enabling enterprise information systems. If you've got more of a commerce type background, if you've got more of an IT type background and you may not have come across sort of accounting and finance, for example, you would go into the business stream. So you do, those 12 credit points, depending on, your background there. And that creates the grad. So that 24 credit points creates the graduate certificate.
Okay. And continuing on then, so once you've finished that, what happens next?
What happens next? Well, semester finishes, you have a little bit of a break and you come back nice and refreshed and ready to rock and roll. And the next or the next session, I should say, you have a number of core subjects again. As I mentioned before, SAS was the first in the language sort of block, as you kind of consider it. You would then have an introduction into Python and an introduction into R. And so those would be core for everyone. And you would have Studio 2 specialization, which again is that second step along the way to that final innovation studio.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're left with the remaining sort of time or credit points you have in the second session is there are a number of different elective options, which you'll see in a few moments' time. But you then start to choose the various streams that you want to go down. So you have 12 credit points available in your second session to start choosing the areas that you want to focus on. And that's very much a decision you don't have to make straight away. You don't have to make that before you come in. You can sort of get a sense of things, talk to faculty, you know, help understand where you are, where you want to go, what you're interested in, and then we can, you know, work with you to find an option that works for you. And that brings us into the third. So this would be your third session is credit point. So the Innovation Studio, the final kind of part of that studio series is 12 credit points. So it's a big subject. So that's half of your time in your third session. And that again leaves you 12 credit points to pick on specializations or subjects that you want to do along that way. And as you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a whole range of different streams, which, you know, you can choose what you particularly want to go into.
So people can choose 2 of those streams, is that right? Or
yeah, so if it's the standard masters, the 3-session masters, you have 24 credit points of specializations available to you. And so, yeah, you'd be able to choose 2 specialization streams.
Yeah. And if they did the extension, which is another 24 credit points, they could just add more. It just adds more specialization options. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Excellent. And is this the same? You mentioned before the online version. Is this the same course for the online version, or is it slightly different?
Look, it is slightly different. And if you're able to, I think, bring it up. Look, there's a lot of similarity in terms of the courses. So you can see we still have the foundations of business analytics. We still have the 3 languages, SAS, Python, and R. We still have the IT stream and the business stream. So all of those elements still exist. If you click through, what we have in terms of, I suppose what's a little bit different, although not entirely, is the Foundation Studio. Yeah, we have the Foundation Studio, which is actually effectively the first studio. So that is the same. The Innovation Studio, the third studio, is still there. But what we've taken out and replaced Studio 2 with is data ethics and regulation. So it's a slightly different. There's a slightly different element within it. We do cover off on data and ethics sort of throughout the face-to-face course, I should say. When it comes to the remaining subjects, customer analytics, machine learning, financial analytics, and data visualization, visual analytics, a number of these subjects exist as part of the electives within the face-to-face course. So customer analytics and financial analytics, going by a slightly different name, exist there. And we've taken a couple of other subjects into this particular online course because we're not providing the elective options. This is very much a streamlined, everyone, with the exception of the IT or the business stream, everyone does the same subjects right the way through. There's no sort of scope to choose different electives within the online version.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, David, look, I'm the marketing guy, so I always think everybody should come to UTS. But what do you think are the main reasons why somebody would choose UTS, specifically in this field of business analytics?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm obviously going to be somewhat biased. I've been at UTS for a while, but the reality is, and this is a beautiful reflection of the building. Oh, it's even better reflection. You get to see more. Beautiful reflection of the building. But what is really important, and it's something I talk about regularly and often to people when talking about UTS, is where we're located, and from a physical sense, is a beautiful sort of embodiment of our DNA. Is that we're sort of right in the heart of the city. We're connected. We're part of that Ultimo Piedmont sort of startup knowledge zone. We are connected with industry across, not just within the business school, not just within business analytics, but across all of the things that we do. It's very much a part of UTS's DNA in that connection that we have. So from physical location, we bring that to the table. And that then leads into what we do with our courses, what we do with developing courses, what we do with teaching courses. We, across the business school, across business analytics, across the university, we develop courses with industry. We get guidance from them. We obviously, we don't go off and do this just on our own. We often will have people either working or teaching, so working with industry, or people from industry working with us on the teaching side of things as well. So I think that DNA of being connected to industry is a really important thing across just how we do what we do. We are very mindful of working with people to make sure they get good outcomes after they have spent time with us.
Excellent. Now, David, I guess before we move over to Q&A, and we've got a couple of questions already in. Is somebody considering doing this? What's your top tip that you would give them for somebody starting out in this field?
Starting out in this, look, there's top tips in general, but for this, starting out in this field is read widely. And by reading, it doesn't just have to be sort of reading, could be sort of watching relevant videos and listening to podcasts and whatnot, but go and read about what's happening. And there's a whole range of whether it be academic work or practitioner work, get a sense of what's happening out there in the market. And I think that holds true in almost any discipline. Is if you focus purely on what gets done in class, and by no means am I, what we do, I think, is amazing in class, and we try to bring in a huge amount of what happens outside in, but the more you take what we do and then augment that with you being interested in going out and finding information and going out and finding stories and cases, the more you bring depth around that other, that side of things. It may not lead to a mark per se, but I think it adds vibrancy to who you are and what you then bring to the table once you finish up with us.
Okay, that's the end of that session with Dr. David Bond. On the screen, there are some various ways that you can contact UTS Business. I hope that you found that session useful and that the topic of business analytics has sparked some interest. For now, that's the end of this session. I hope everyone has enjoyed it, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day / evening. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.